Today we're going to react to Area Vibes ratings of Nokomis, Florida.
And this is an area we know well, and we also know a lot of people like to use Area Vibes, and another one is niche.com, and we feel like niche is a little more accurate. Yes. Yeah, I'd say Area Vibes is pretty brutal.
But I think both are great, especially when you're just getting started to, know the area and do some research.
Yeah, and our first-hand experience with a lot of areas, we just felt like niche kind of matched up a little better. But we know Nokomis well, so let's dive into this. Livability score is 71 out of 100. That's not bad.
It seems like all the cities in the area are getting 70s.
70-ish. I think Venice was like a 79, and I think
North were like 74.
Yeah, it was somewhere in between there. So let's dive into the details. So one thing to take with a grain of salt with this too is like they're basing it on the city, just Nokomis. Nokomis is very much, as far as we're concerned, pretty much part of Venice. They're very connected. You literally go over a bridge and, oh, now I'm in Nokomis. Yes. And so a lot of the things that you would want to do, you're going to have in Venice that maybe Nokomis doesn't. And with Sarasota being so close to the north, there's even more there.
Yes. So Nokomis has its own beach, and then everything else, you would have to go to Venice.
Look at this. 0 coffee shops, 0 for entertainment, no food and drink, 1 fitness place, 0 for grocery stores.
Okay.
Yeah. So first of all, groceries. I know for sure there's an Aldi.
There's a Publix. There's a Winn-Dixie.
I think that Walmart is technically in Osprey, but it's really close. And yeah, there's a Winn-Dixie. So yeah, that's why we say you got to take Area Vibes with a grain of salt. Like coffee too. There's a
Starbucks.
Yep. That might technically be Venice. No, you're right.
No, there is one in Nokomis.
Yeah, you're right. There's one there too. A Dunkin' Donuts.
There is those coffee shops by Evergreen. Yeah, yep. There's like at least 2 nearby.
Yeah. So there's a bunch.
Yes.
Entertainment F again. Depends on what you're looking for. The downtown in Venice for a lot of people is going to be just as close for anyone living in Venice. Yes. So that's number 1. So there's all that stuff to do. Number 2, the parks are actually pretty good in Nokomis, despite it not being a very big area. There's some really nice parks in the area. And
the beach, they have a beach.
The jetty, and there's some like restaurant shack type things kind of right by the water there.
Yeah, Nokomis Hut, it's a really great restaurant. If you're in the area, you gotta check it out.
Yeah, so yeah, that
food and drink has nothing.
They have some really good food and drink places, especially again, considering if you look on the map, it's not that big of an area. Like Venice is gonna include all of this, and I think they also included like a lot of this chunk here. And then they separated Venice Gardens and South Venice, even though, again, they're kind of the same thing.
And the other thing, too, with Nokomis, Laurel up here, it's basically the same as well.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And then you have Casey Key on this side over here, which Casey Key is a great area just to go and look at the mansions. And there is some restaurants as well, and then boat lounges and kayak lounges. So that's right in Casey Key.
Yeah. So, and then, yeah, groceries. I don't know if we mentioned, they have Aldi, Winn-Dixie, like there's a lot. Parks, they actually have 3 listed here, which Nokomis Riverview Park, Community Park, I know that one very well. And then I know in Laurel, there's, Laurel Park, so they are including that there. Pinebrook,
oh wow.
I guess Pinebrook Park does kind of dip a little bit into Nokomis. Yeah. It's kind of on that edge of Venice. I always consider it more of a Venice park, I guess, but it's a really big park.
Legacy Park, which the Legacy Trail actually connects to Sarasota, so that's a good one if you want to go for it would be a really long walk, but like a bike ride or even like a scooter ride.
Yeah, Nokomis has some of my, Venice has some great parks too, but Nokomis has some of my favorite parks, especially considering the size of it. They do parks really well. So yeah, fitness, again, like it's so hard to quantify a lot of this because it's like, well, how much do you expect in little Nokomis when Venice is covering such a bigger area, and then you got all that stuff in Venice? That's going to be a very, very short drive. So that's one thing to consider. I think we could probably move on to the next thing, but all this is like, again, you got Venice right there. Commute, F. Again.
Yeah, same thing with the public transportation.
Yeah, this is part of an ongoing series. Subscribing to all notifications to catch up the videos we've done of Area Vibes, our reactions to the other cities nearby. But yeah, they're basing it all on public transportation.
And with commute, I think Nokomis would do very, very well if they took into account commute to work or to schools.
And driving yourself.
Yeah, because Nokomis is basically in between Sarasota and Venice. So you have Venice for work if you want, more of the healthcare or service-related industries. But Sarasota is a bigger city, so there's a lot to pick from, and you're probably within 15 to 20-minute drive, so that's not bad for a commute.
Yeah, I really feel like Nokomis, we've said this for a while on the channel, is underrated because of its location, because it's you get all that Venice has to offer, but it puts you closer to Sarasota. It's to me like a great value.
I think it is,
and a great proposition just locationally.
And depending where in Nokomis you are, you could be for like between a 5 to 10-minute drive from the Venice's downtown as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
And they have a great beach, great jetty. They have a boardwalk along their beach too, which, you know, I don't know. I think it has a lot to offer in a small area, and then the location within this, you know, relationship to the state and the other cities just nearby is awesome. Cost of living, A+.
Oh.
I think that's one of the better ones that we've done so far. We've done Venice and Northport, so just two, but that's probably the best.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised, but I mean, it makes sense because there isn't a lot of new construction. I mean, there is more new construction now with North Venice and Nokomis kind of like blending in together. So that will bring prices up. But as of right now, most homes are, you know, not on an HOA community. So, and there is a lot of mobile homes too in Nokomis.
Yeah, I'd say that's the one thing that's interesting and very different from Venice, even though they feel like very much similar city. Nokomis has a big spread. Super expensive houses to houses that maybe need a little more TLC and are a little more small. So it's a little bit more of a mixed bag on that, but it's just interesting how it's still kind of winded up as an A+ on the cost of living, but that's probably because it does not include Casey Key on this, the way they're, you know, defining the boundaries.
Yeah, Laurel has more of the HOA communities with
True.
more expensive homes too, and that's not included on there. But they do include on here, like this little area right there, that's gotta be expensive.
Yeah, that's waterfront property.
Yeah.
Actually, we went to a few parties at a house on one of those. Some really nice houses in that area. Really nice. So yeah, interesting. Tax rate, as always, I think they're just giving everything Florida A+ because there's no income tax, and unless the sales tax is ridiculously high, I would imagine everyone in Florida is getting that. Crime, A-.
Makes sense.
Yeah, like we always say, the whole area is pretty safe. Again, pretty much part of Venice, and yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot more to say about this that we haven't said in the other videos, but they're basing it on the amount of crimes per 100,000 people. Property crime, A-, violent crime, A-, overall, A-. Employment.
C for employment. I think that's accurate, mainly because Nokomis is such a small area. It's a small town. But again, you're very close to Venice, very close to Sarasota. So for work, you do have a lot of different options.
Median household income is $47,928 in an F. What was Northport's? We just did North.
60.
Was it that much higher? Okay,
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I think they gave that 66C. So that's crazy, man.
Yeah, that's really low. But I mean, there is a lot of retirees in Nokomis too, so I wonder if that has anything to do with
If they're
it.
accounting for that, maybe. Yeah, that could be. That's just crazy. That's blowing my mind that it's so much lower than Northport. But I think, again, with Northport, it's weird because Northport is probably further from Sarasota, but it's viewed as a city to commute to Sarasota from. And maybe a lot of, people are working in Sarasota and, they still live in Northport, so their income comes up. I don't know.
But wouldn't it be the same for Nokomis?
Yeah, maybe there's less people making that commute, though, I guess is what I'm saying. I feel like there's like a different mindset that people have of why they go to Nokomis. Interesting. Unemployment is 0.3%. Wow, that's astronomically awesome. That's an A+.
I wonder if that is including the retirees.
And we should say this again, we said this on all the videos, but we're not sure how up to date some of this information. So like certain things that seem pretty up to date, and then other things are like, that looks like it's a couple years old. The housing will probably be one of them.
Health, A-. Health and safety is a D-.
That's really interesting, especially, I don't think this is up to date because the new hospital that got built in the North Venice area, the Sarasota Memorial, which is a top-rated hospital system in the state of Florida, was just built there. I can't imagine they're accounting for that.
No. Well, then it says 0, so they're not accounting for anything really.
Yeah, again, it's like what's in Nokomis. But again, Venice is right next door. What did they get, like an A? I think it was like A+.
And the new Sarasota Hospital, it's literally in between Venice and Nokomis.
Yeah.
So.
And then the air quality A, pretty much everything in the area has got an A. Housing A+. And
202,000. But it still gets a C.
Yeah, and that's not accurate.
No.
I mean, we just did some home tours on our other channel where we just basically do all home tours, and we walked through 6 different places in Nokomis. And what would you say the median of those was?
Probably 350, 380.
Yeah, and they were all nice houses though, nice neighborhoods. So
some of them were a little older and remodeled, but
some awesome old houses though with like lots of character. But that's another story. 202,000 is probably not accurate. It's probably sitting closer to 3 something.
380. Yeah.
Okay. Home appreciation at 38%. That I believe.
The other thing to take in account too with Nokomis is that, so Area Vibes is only taking Nokomis, but when you do an actual median home sales price, that's going to take some of like the Key area, which those properties are a lot higher. So you might not get an accurate result from doing that.
It's always interesting too, because all these different tools and websites and stuff, they kind of decide what area is part of Nokomis or whatever city and what's not. So that's why you also have to take it with a grain of salt. The home appreciation, and I'm not surprised on, this whole area is booming. Sarasota, Venice, Northport, Lakewood Ranch, Bradenton, Inglewood to some degree, Welland Park. And by the way, if you do want to buy or sell a home in the area, get a hold of our real estate team, 941-221-1897. Call, text anytime. Home affordability, D+. I'm not surprised based on the employment statistics.
And the income.
And the income, Take that with a grain of salt.
But there is a lot of different options in Nokomis that, more affordable options. You just have to keep an open mind, and a lot more expensive options as well. So there is a mixed bag there and a lot to choose from. Yeah,
definitely feel like Nokomis is just like one of the more overrated and like biggest opportunities in all of Southwest Florida right now. That's just not getting talked about. So, let's click the wrong thing. Schools. B-. Interesting. As we always say, Sarasota County, well, I shouldn't say always. We used to say it was number 2 ranked in the state. Now it's number 1 in the state for school system for the entire county. Nokomis is included in that county. And
again, same thing as with Venice and Northport. It's just interesting that the actual schools are getting a bad grade, but then overall, the system overall, it's getting a good grade. Yeah, and for most of them too. Well, this one not as good on the high school graduation rates, but 86% still not bad though.
Yeah.
So you gave it a D+.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in the 80s it is a D.
Yeah. Well.
No, that's more like a B.
Yeah, I don't know what they're deciding. The percent would be a B, but I mean, you got to think about, I guess 14% of the kids at the school aren't graduating. That isn't great, I guess, but I wonder how accurate that is.
Yeah.
But either way, test scores, for them to give that a B+, give it an overall B-, and then the school. So like Venice is highly rated, Northport is highly rated. They got like, I think an A for overall test scores and graduation rates, but then they give the schools an F. Yeah. So I don't really know what they're basing that off of. I mean, they have a Montessori school, which is awesome. Take that with a pretty large grain of salt, like salt that you would put on in the driveway if you live up north in the winters to keep the ice away.
Melting.
Ratings from people.
No one rated Nokomis.
Well, no one did a review, but they did surveys.
Yeah.
Which I feel like surveys generally is, at least from Northport, it seemed like it was more accurate versus the user reviews. C-. It's so hard to say when people are doing these surveys too. Are they considering just Nokomis, or are they considering, Venice and all that?
And I mean, still, it really depends on the person, like what you're looking for out of a city. If for some reason you moved to Nokomis, but you wanted like a big city lifestyle, then yeah, of course you're gonna give it a bad rating because it's really not what you're looking for. But if you were looking for more access, like quick access to the beach, to downtowns, to location-wise, quick access to bigger cities, but you don't want the hustle and bustle of the big cities, you want to like come home to like your little community, your little town, then Nokomis would do great. So it really just depends on what you're looking for. Yeah, and I feel like if you put it in context as like being part of Venice, like it's city-ish still. Yeah. It's just not big city. Yeah. It's definitely not, small town like Midwest or something like that by any means. And again, for Venice and Nokomis, it just feels like it's just one clump. It's one city. We know it's 2 different cities, but it just feels like they just merged together. Yeah. I think it really depends, your overall, I think, perception of it would depend on a couple things. One, what's the house you ultimately end up buying in, and, what's your work situation? 2, and then 3, how much are you taking advantage of having Sarasota north of you and being closer to it than living in Venice? And just
like making that drive in real life, like if you're towards the south end of Venice, it feels so much further and like a pain in the butt to try to make the drive up there. I wouldn't say a pain in the butt, but it gives a little more friction.
Yeah.
Versus being in Nokomis, it's like, well, yeah, that ain't too bad. Let's just make a quick trip up there. No big deal.
Well, and just once, and we were speaking from experience, once you get like close to 75 or on to 75, it's like, it's a breeze. It's like so much quicker, but like getting out of Venice to get to 75, that's when it feels like it's a lot longer of a drive. But if you're like if you're closer to 75, then Sarasota or Fort Myers, it doesn't feel as far of a drive.
Yeah, and they do have some really quick, easy ways to get onto 75, or even just on going 41, you know, is going to be a lot quicker and feel a lot less, you know, cumbersome, I guess you could say.
Yes, and there's also other ways to get to Sarasota without getting on the highway as well.
Yeah.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the Nokomis, Venice areas, make sure to call, text, or email our real estate team, 941-221-1897.
Call or text anytime, whether you're looking to move in the next few days or the next few months. We hear from people all the time, and we love it. We'll always have your back and want to help you find that dream home.
If you want to know more about Nokomis, check out this video right here.
And subscribe and turn on all notifications to catch our newest videos about Nokomis and all the surrounding areas. Hit the like button if you found the video helpful, and live breezy.